But like that actress, like she kind of got like a, how do I say this nicely? She's kind of got like a potato-shaped head, but like a small face. Like, I don't know what it is about the way that like her face is arranged, but it just has me feeling like a little bit off. Alright y'all, welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about episode 1 of The Last of Us on HBO. Now I know that I'm late to this, but I honestly didn't know if I was going to make a video on this show. But after watching that first episode, I decided, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Now this is gonna be different from my usual gaming content. So for those of you who don't know, outside of content creation, I actually work in the film industry, and I actually went to and graduated from film school. So I know a bunch of stuff about filmmaking and storytelling techniques, and I figured why not put them to use and do a kind of like review and impression of this show. So here we are. Now warning, there will be spoilers. And honestly, if you haven't played the now 10-year-old original Last of Us game, or you haven't played the remake that came out a few months ago, or you haven't watched the first episode of the show that's been out for about a week now, then let's be honest, you probably never will. Now the reason why I was kind of debating on making a video on this show was because I was a little bit concerned on, you know, how the show is going to be. Like, I was really concerned if I was going to be engaged or not with the show. Seeing as I've already played the original game multiple times and I already know everything that's going to happen. And on top of all of that, The Last of Us was already a very cinematic game to begin with. So they literally could have done a shot-for-shot remake of the game and that would have satisfied some people. And I honestly thought that's what they were going to do. And they do to a degree. Like, a lot of the same beats and dialogue from the game are in the show.
Where did you get the money for this?
Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
Where'd you get the money for this?
Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
It's better when I do.
Sarah falling asleep and then Joel putting her to bed before the outbreak starts. Joel and Tommy riding past a neighbor's house who's on fire. And Joel telling Tommy to keep driving as they go past a stranded family on the highway. So all the stuff from the game is there, but they went in and added so much more. First off, I loved like the old school like interview that they added to the show, where it's like the two doctors who are like talking about, you know, different types of outbreaks and stuff like that. I really liked that part, and to me, it was like a perfect tone setter for the show and the story. And it also allowed us to learn a little bit more about the virus, you know, what it does to people and how it works internally. Like, I'm sure information about the virus and how it spread and stuff like that was in the game somewhere, but it was probably like a collectible that you probably could have easily missed, if I'm going to be completely honest. Now, the way that they did the whole like intro outbreak situation was really dope. And I also like what they added to, you know, like the front half of that story, because like in the game, you kind of start off at the end of the day with Sarah on the couch and, you know, whatever. But in the show, it actually starts at the beginning of the day, and you get to see more of Joel and Sarah's relationship, which I thought was really cool, because you get to see, you know, how much that like he's not dependent on her, but she kind of just like, she's kind of like the person in his life that keeps his head on straight, if that makes any sense. Like, Sarah's one who's waking Joel up on time, making sure that he's getting his right vitamins, making sure that he doesn't forget stuff. Like, she's kind of the person who kind of just like keeps his head on straight, like I said. I thought that was a pretty cool dynamic that they didn't really touch on in the game. And also, speaking on Joel and Sarah, I was a little bit skeptical of the casting of those two characters, and not because I don't like them, because first of all, I love Pedro Pascal and everything that he's been in. Game of Thrones, Mandalorian, Kingsman, Narcos, like everything that I've seen Pedro in, I pretty much like. So it's not that I had a problem with the actors themselves, but it's more of like a psychological thing where I'm so used to like Joel and Sarah looking the same way, and they've been looking that way for the past, you know, 10 years in like the original game, the remake, and part 1. So that was just something that made me skeptical of the casting, just because like the casting wasn't as true to like the original characters as I was like used to, but that went away pretty quick as the show went on. But anyway, the tension that was built during the whole outbreak segment of the show was probably some of like the best tension that I felt in a long time when it comes to like movies and TV shows, even though I knew what was coming. And the reason why the tension was feeling so good was the way that like the foreshadowing was setting up the events to come. Like I said, the opening talk show bit was really dope and a great tone setter. But then they had some obvious foreshadowing, you know, like the radio playing. You see like the cop cars and the ambulances riding through the streets as Sarah's trying to get Joel's watch fixed. The watch store actually closed early because the wife was concerned about what was happening in the city. You know, there was obvious stuff like that. But then there was also little subtle things that you could have missed. For example, like the grandma in the background of the shot as Sarah is looking at the DVDs or whatever. The grandma like tweaking out. Like that was really dope. But my favorite foreshadowing was when Sarah was in school and there was like a kid with a bracelet on and it was like shining in her face because like his arm was twitching because obviously like he was infected but he didn't really know it yet. Like that was probably like my favorite part of foreshadowing in that show. Like I thought that was really well done. So yeah, like I said, all the new like foreshadowing elements they added to the show really made that whole outbreak sequence like really dope, intense, and kind of had me on the edge of my seat a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. And of course, you know, when Sarah got clapped, even though I knew it was coming, it still caught me. Now, I think the thing that I like the most about this show is that they're able to expand on things better than they could have in the game. Just because, you know, when you're using like an interactive player, somebody can obviously like be looking somewhere else when a key story element happens or miss, you know, little things that happen. But in the show, they're able to like expand on things and show you more directly how things are, if that makes any sense. Like, for instance, the show did a really good job of showing how f***ed up the quarantine zone actually was in The Last of Us universe. Like, playing the game, I knew the quarantine was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. Like, I didn't know that we were lying to kids and then smoking them bad, or literally hanging motherfuckers in the town square bad. And they were also able to expand more in depth on what Joel did to survive while he was in these quarantine zones. Like, I know that they talked about it in the game, but they were actually able to flesh it out a little bit more in the show. Oh yeah, and shout out to that Factions music that was playing while Joel was getting twisted. And I think that's what excites me the most about this show, is that I know what's coming, but I'm excited to see how this show tackles those moments in like its own unique and new way, if that makes any sense. As far as the actress who played Ellie goes, I was kind of neutral on her performance in this episode. Like, I didn't think it was bad, but I also didn't think it was like crazy good either. And that's also partially due to like the psychological thing that I was talking about before when it came to like Joel and Sarah not really being casted as like their characters looked in the game. Like, that psychological part kind of hit me too when it came to the actress who played Ellie. And I'm gonna just call her Lady Mormont because, you know, that's what I know her from Game of Thrones. But like, that actress, like, she kind of got like a... how do I say this nicely? She's kind of got like a potato-shaped head, but like a small face. Like, I don't know what it is about the way that like her face is arranged, but it just has me feeling like a little bit off. Like I said, that's definitely like a psychological thing because I'm so used to Ellie looking a certain way. I think I'll get over it eventually, hopefully. I do like how they showed Ellie's like craftiness and her intelligence. I thought that was pretty cool. I think that the Tess and Marlene actors are pretty good too. And I like how they adapted Robert's character into the show, because in the game, you know, Robert roughs up Tess and then Joel and Tess eventually go after Robert, and Tess is the one who actually ends up killing him in the game. But in the show, they adapted it to where Robert dies off screen in a gunfight with the Fireflies after he tries to sell Marlene and them a shitty car battery. So I like that adaptation of like a key gameplay sequence, and I'm very interested to see how they adapt other key gameplay sequences in the game to the show, like the sniper shootout in the suburbs, and even the segment in the hotel where Joel gets separated from Ellie in that flooded basement. For those of you who play the game, you know what section I'm talking about. I'm very excited to see how they adapt that sequence into the show. And lastly, Joel's like trigger or whatever that happened towards the end of the show was pretty dope as well. I'm interested to see how the show kind of tackles Joel's, I guess, like descent into madness, if that makes any sense, because they already showed his character evolve a little bit in the show, how like he went from being hesitant to kill an already infected old person to straight up just like tossing a dead kid like it was nothing. Like, so they already have shown like a little bit of character development. So like that little like flashback trigger thing that kind of like set Joel off, I'm definitely interested to see how they flesh that out and kind of like show his like descent into madness as he goes on his journey with Ellie and them. But yeah, that was episode 1 of the show. My favorite part of this episode was definitely the sequence during the outbreak when like the plane crashed into the town. That was something new that wasn't in the game and definitely caught me off guard and was really super dope. Let me know what your favorite part of the show was down in the comment section. But yeah, like I said, I didn't really have too high expectations for this show going into it, and that's why I was a little bit hesitant in making this video. But after watching like 10 or 15 minutes of the show, it definitely sucked me in and got me hooked. And I can't wait to see what they do on the next episode of the show, which should be coming out tonight. Let me know what your thoughts were on the first episode of The Last of Us down in the comment section below. And also down in the comment section, let me know if you guys want to see more of these like review, impressions, or like analysis videos down in the comment section below. Because like I said, this is different from my usual content that I'm used to doing on the channel. And I've always liked, you know, giving my impression and like analyzing stuff, especially when it comes to film. So let me know if you guys liked this video and if you want me to do more videos like this in the future. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching and I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you want to see more like this shit. Oh yeah, and one time for the one time, let me get a yeah.